Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to present to you the release notes of Boyum IT's Beas Manufacturing 2020.11. We're going to start out with the highlights and then outline the new features and improvements of the fresh release. Stay with me and get familiar with all that the new release has to offer. Before going into details, let's go through the highlights. We are introducing a new tab named Advanced Production in the SAP Item Master Data window in our beta version, to enable the user to access the data handled by Beas Manufacturing from SAP Business One window directly. The MRP calculation now considers the SAP sales BOM components coming from a forecast or blanket agreement, and we introduce a new functionality to enable background execution of MRP calculation. We are also introducing a background calculation for APS and the possibility of adding it as a planned task. We have added several new tabs in the Inventory History window. In the Web Apps terminal, now you can search for an app or tab to find a web app easily and fast. For the Goods Receipt web app, we have added automatic generation of batch and serial numbers. We now support to modify the warehouse code in several user events. We improved the Beas service layer with backflashing objects supporting automatic time receipt and added BSL external object. We have added the refresh toolbar option in various Beas windows, added several UDF corrections, done the review of further tables in the Data Integration Hub, improved the login process, and introduced documentation and online help based on Beas versions. The functions and fields of the Beas Item Master window have been integrated into the SAP Item Master. As of Beas 2020.11 beta version, you can access the Beas Item Master with all Beas functionalities directly from the SAP Item Master with a basic Beas license. For this, we have added new settings in the configuration wizard. With the setting Non-Integration, no integration is activated, and you can open the Manage Item Master data as in the previous Beas versions. With the Beas window setting, the SAP integration is active, but you can view and manage Item Master data in a separate Beas window with all functions gathered in its various tabs. When you open the Item Master from Beas form, the system opens the Beas Item Master data window. With the SAP window setting, you can view and manage Item Master data in the SAP Business One Item Master window with the integrated Beas functions. When you open the Item Master from a Beas form, the system opens the SAP Item Master data window. When the SAP window setting in the configuration wizard is active, the SAP Item Master window includes a separate tab for Beas functions. The name of the tab is Advanced Production. The fields here are accessible depending on the type of item and if function is active for the item. Please note that the visibility of procurement method buy, production lot size, and calculation also depends on certain settings. With the Advanced Item Creation and Advanced Item Duplicate, the system opens the function to create or copy new items. All functions that appear as separate tabs in the old Beas Item Master window are collected in the Extended Production submenu. Please note that you can only see most of these functions if they were activated in the relevant settings in the configuration wizard. In MRP, now you can include SAP Sales Bill of Material components in calculation when using forecast or blanket agreements can be calculated from now on. In SAP, you can find Bill of Materials for a sales item. If this item is available in a sales order, its components are visible in the order document. Please note that support will be only for this type of SAP Bill of Materials. Other types are not supported. For this, the system uses Beas Bill of Materials. As a new function now, you can run an MRP calculation in the background directly in Beas. You can choose how to execute the calculation with the field Execute In. With background, when starting the calculation, a separate task where the calculation is opened. While the calculation is running, it is possible to work with Beas, and the MRP browser shows the status of the calculation. With the foreground setting, the calculation is done directly in the application. While the application is running, it is not possible to work in Beas. With the Ask Always setting when starting the calculation, you can choose if the calculation should be done in the back or the foreground. Similarly to MRP, as a new function, now you can run an APS calculation in the background directly in Beas. You can choose how to execute the calculation with the field Execute In. With the background setting, when starting the calculation, a separate task for the calculation is opened. While the calculation is running, it is possible to work with Beas, and the APS browser shows the status of the calculation. With the foreground setting, the calculation is done directly in the application. While the application is running, it is not possible to work in Beas. With the Ask Always setting, when starting the calculation, you can choose if the calculation should be done in the back or the foreground. We have also applied a new layout and button design. The APS overview has new fields now to show information on actual calculation status, and the buttons follow the logic of MRP and batch calculation. You can also schedule APS calculation as a planned activity. For this, you need to open the Beas managed server with at least one Beas service running and activate planned activities. In the Planned Activities tab, you can create an activity for the APS calculation to be scheduled. After activating the scheduling and providing repetition and times of the calculations, add the following script with the APS scenario name at the end. If you would like to calculate the default scenario, just leave the scenario name part empty. Add the activity, and the last run field in the Planned Activities tab will show when the last calculation took place. As a new functionality, we added validation for the desktop terminal app work order login when searching with the barcode of the operation. The system shows an error message for the items that are blocked. Now, if the work order is blocked, the system does not show any operation to login. It just shows an error message. We have added new tabs in the Inventory History window. In the By Warehouse tab, the inventory history is listed according to warehouse numbers. In the Bin Location tab, you can see all bin locations with stock in a list. The tab supports Beas, SAP, and WMS managed warehouses and is only visible if stock on bin managed warehouse is available. The Batch Numbers tab is only visible for batch managed items, and similarly, the Serial Numbers tab is only visible for serial managed items. As a general improvement of the web apps terminal, we have added a search field in the main menu. With that, you can easily find a web app in the terminal. On smaller devices with limited screen size, the function appears as a magnifying glass icon in the top right screen section. On larger screens, the function automatically appears as an input field. Please note that the search hits only display the apps available to the user. In the Web Apps Goods Receipt, the automatic serial or batch generation was not possible. Now the system generates automatic batch or serial numbers when the respective field is left empty. In the customization area, we have added support to modified warehouse code in several user events. Due to our Beas service layer improvement, work order backflushing now supports automatic time receipt. A new endpoint has been added to support all the small details we did not include in the early version we released. A more simple and easy to use interface with fewer parameters, support to make a partial or complete process, and depending on the Beas configuration, now I can create the time receipt and registers time. The web app work order backflushing will take advantage of this new Beas service layer call to solve these issues. The Beas service layer has a new collection of entities for the external production process. For further information, check Beas script documentation on the following link. The refresh toolbar option is now available in several Beas windows. We also did corrections in the item structure window. The search button was moved to the left side and the end was changed to cancel. We have added several UDF corrections, added UDF support and fixed UDF handling in more than 50 different Beas forms. As a new functionality in Windows settings, it is possible to define the UDF settings directly. It is not necessary to open the configuration wizard to set it. Click on Details to define UDF settings directly within the function. Another improvement of all list forms with the UDFs is that the standard width of every UDF is 400 pixels now. Before it was 200. Also, if UDFs were defined previously, they are visible in the forms, and there is no need to activate them in the window settings separately. Color, bold, italic, tooltip, cross-references, and drop-down are supported. If a field is editable, the cross-reference is not working. In the Data Integration Hub area, we reviewed the following tables in the release. Item, item BOM header, item routing tool, alternative, parallel resource, item BOM positions, item version administration status, item routing header, business partners, contact information of employees, and business partners, ship to and bill to addresses list. For detailed information on newly imported fields, new default values, non-imported elements, and newly added mandatory values, please visit our Beas activity log. With Beas 2020.11, we are starting to create an online help per Beas version. What this means is that if you click F1 in Beas 2020.11, the system opens the online documentation created for Beas 2020.11. If you click F1 in Beas 2020.12, the system opens the online documentation created for that version. Similarly, if you click on F1 in Beas 2020.09 or older, the system opens the last documentation which was created for Beas 2020.09. If you want to open the documentation per web, you have access to all help versions. The main new link for Beas documentation is http://help.beascloud.com. We use the same concept for Beas script documentation, and you can use the new main link to open the Beas script documentation. In this way, we can optimize it. You will only see functionality which is available in your current used version, and the documentation will not be overloaded with description of functions from old versions. The new online help has more functions. Quick search. You can search with score system and display results in tab search. In tab search, if you click on one result, you see the place in the structure view and the system opens the chapter in a separate tab. You can always go back to search results and check the next chapter. You can open new tabs. In this way you have the possibility to open different help chapters at once. You can unlock a tab and can open this in a separate Internet Explorer window. All new functions will help you to find the correct chapter easier and faster. We also improved the login process to support CCC. With this improvement, we adapted the login process to work with the public cloud providers. The process is almost the same as before, but it adapts our internal code to the new flow. The main issue with the public cloud is to retrieve the list of companies we need with a valid user and password to connect to the DI API. Before, when Beas was started, the list of companies was always loaded and we stored the last used company as the index inside of this list. Now we rewrote the functions to connect to the database to use a single function for all. The last used company is stored as database name, including the database description and version into beasuser.ini. And at start, we never request a list of companies. We use the last one. If you need to change the last used company, you can press the button Refresh. Since version 2020.09, the button layout and toolbar are different in Beas. Search, new or delete buttons will not be available among the button buttons. However, all these options are accessible from the right-click menu or using the toolbar. A parameter was enabled to switch back to the old model, although we would like to encourage you to use the default value of the parameter, which is SAP style. Consider that if you have customizations associated with these buttons, they can be affected by this change. In this final slide of our presentation, you can see our planned releases for 2020. The release titles are derived from the respective months they are made available. As the flowchart indicates here, we are releasing a fresh version every 1.5 months. This means our next and final release this year is planned for the end of December, version 2020.12. Please note that this current state of planning may be changed by Boyum IT Solutions at any time. This concludes our video on the new features, existing feature and system improvements, and fixes of Boyum IT's Beas Manufacturing 2020.11. We encourage you to upgrade to this latest version of our solution and to keep in touch concerning any questions you might have. Please visit our community on the link below and stay tuned for our upcoming videos.